topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. There's certain days on my calendar that I have circled, and the last Monday of the month at 9 o'clock is my circle calendar day. It is one of my favorite shows to do, and it's actually the person who does the expert, the incredible estate planning attorney, Debbie Baker, that makes the show. I look so forward to it. And this is going to be our Thanksgiving show. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Steve. Good to see you.
Our Thanksgiving show.
Amazing, right? It's been a year, right?
It's been a year. And I got to tell you, I wanted to tell you this. I'm what's called an altar counselor at my church, and I'm the one who's up there at the front before and after services. And I got to tell you, yesterday, Debbie, the lines were so long for people who needed prayer. I don't even remember it ever being that long, but a lot of people wanted to thank God. And I think things are going to be getting better soon.
Be nice. It would be nice.
It would be. But it's so nice to see that prayer is still so important to people. And I know how important prayer is to you.
He's being stubborn this morning. Okay, anyway. See what I can say.
So you were an estate planning attorney, and God, it's so apropos because you have such a big heart for people. And when you go into estate planning, that is one of the few areas of law that you really have to have a heart for people. Tell people about your background.
Okay. My background is my office. Okay. My background. Well, I started out in the Northeast a long time ago. Grew up in New York City, well, Queens. I was called out on that once because I didn't grow up in Manhattan. But anyway, lived in the Northeast for a long time, came to Florida a long time ago. Worked in a lot of areas and became an executive coach. I was a life coach for over 30 years with asking people difficult questions and helping them make difficult choices. Always loved it. Could never make a bad decision. You know, you made a decision, you made it over again. And then became a person of faith about 40 years ago, which is ridiculous because I still practice being 39, so it's actually, impossible. And almost 16 years ago to the day, God told me to go to law school, which to say the least was startling. So I went to law school, which I'd thought about in the past, but it was never the right time. We've all probably had situations where all of us, it's not the right time, and all of a sudden it's the right time, and you go ahead and do something, and it's easy. All of us could probably think of something like that. Well, I went to law school from 2011 and 2015. And so for those who look at me and say, she must be practicing for 40 years. No, not so much. A little over 9. Graduated in 2015, loved school, had forgotten how much I loved it, and decided to do estate planning because it's a great way to be of service, and I've always been driven to be of service. For those of you who read, from other professions. There's a wonderful book called The Discipline of Market Leaders, and one of them was profit, and one of them was service. And I honestly don't remember the third one, but service has always been what drives me. It's never been about how much money I earned. It's always been about, can I help? And estate planning and probate, elder law, they're all just great ways to help. So, and this has been a great venue because I used to could lead silent prayer in a phone booth, as Brian Tracy said, and which I always love the image. And now, talking to people, doing this show, it's just a joy, because if I can help, then that's what I'm here for.
Debbie, I got to tell you, I cannot tell you how many people I know that said, I wish I would have done this. I wish I'd have gone to law school. I wish I would have become a doctor. I mean, I have so many friends and people that I know who to today say that, but you actually really did it.
I really did it. And it's always wonderful to have somebody come and say, I wish I'd done, and say, well, what keeps you from doing it now? And the general thing, there are two. A, I'm too old. And B, there's the money. Well, there's no doubt there's money involved, and you're never too old. And it's just a great story to tell yourself. So younger people, especially younger people, in their 30s, 40s, whatever, who come and say, I'm too old to do this. I said, oh, please don't tell me that. Just
right. Was it
if you
harder
really want to do it
back to school the second time?
Say again?
Was it harder going back to school the second time?
No, but everybody thought it would be. It was very interesting. It's a cultural conversation. It's the conversation that as you get older or you've been out of school longer, it's harder. I mean, I can't clone myself because I didn't go in my 20s, so I can't clone myself to when I went, right? But the biggest thing was, with all those years out of school, I learned how to write one paragraph sentences. So if somebody said, write 1,500 words about this, it would be like, what, are you kidding me? You can say this in 10 or 15 maybe. And that was a stretch. Other than that, no, because I was totally there by choice. I wasn't there because I felt I had to. I wasn't there because my parents had always told me to go to law school. I wasn't there because I had nothing better to do when I graduated from undergraduate school, which happened 2010, 2011, when the economy was tough. 8, 9, people were applying to law school in way increased numbers because they had nowhere to go. They couldn't find jobs, so they applied to law school. It wasn't why I was there. So I applied because it was a walk of faith, and I loved it. So I can't say it was harder. I don't think so.
Well, the holiday seasons are here.
Right.
And, I guess estate planning is so important now. Talk about why it's so important now as we get closer to the holidays.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you an example because you said something about people, saying, I wish I'd done this. Estate planning is important all the time. And here's an example that happened just in the last 2 weeks. A gentleman calls me. His parents need planning. They haven't done anything for like 30 years. They've moved. They're older. He's not sure either one of them has full capacity, mental capacity. He's pretty sure his mom doesn't. He's pretty sure his dad does. And whatever. And I met with his parents 10 days ago, whatever it was. Was supposed to get documents signed tomorrow. His father had a stroke last week. You're not going to be able to get documents signed. And what the son told me was, I wish I'd started this 2 months earlier. And can't go back and do it again. Don't know what's going to happen. Estate planning is important because we can never know what's going to happen. And what I tell people more and more, as I learn more and more, is there are documents that people need while they're living and healthy in the moment, or maybe not, that without them, like tie up their family in knots because they cannot easily do something for them. People to make financial decisions for you, your power of attorney, sell a piece of property, buy a piece of property, invest money, whatever, access your bank account. Healthcare surrogate, appointing somebody to make health decisions for you. Living will, which is end of life decisions. They're important now, today, so I don't remember if Rebel has these documents. I know she's still really young and all that kind of thing. And a young person will say, I don't have anything. I don't have a family yet. I don't own a home. It doesn't matter because your parents can't help you. And if you don't want your parents to help you, then you really want to appoint somebody because the first person in line, if you're single, is your parents, not even your siblings. It's your parents. So it's important all year. This time of year, it's more, what can I give my family for peace of mind? That's not another piece of clothing or another box of chocolate or something that I saw that they'd really like, but the last thing they need is more stuff. And that could apply to somebody 30 as well as somebody 80, more stuff. The peace of mind that people experience when they have completed their plans is not visible to them until they've completed their plans. Because it feels like people don't do it because they're afraid they'll die as soon as they finish it, which they might. However, if they hadn't finished it, their family would be in a much bigger world of hurt than they are now. So it's important all the time. And it is a great, however morbid it might sound, it's a great holiday gift to give and to talk to your family about what do you think we should do, or this is what we're going to do, or something like that. So it's important all the time.
We've been doing this show for several years now, and it's amazing when a celebrity or somebody I know really well pass away. Like Chuck Woolery just passed away yesterday. He was the guy on the Love Game, and we'll be back 2 and 2. And I've actually had him on my show many times, and I never even knew he was sick. And I just wonder if these people had a plan, because I know Prince didn't, and he was young.
Who knows? I remember years ago, I worked with a financial advisor, and he worked with athletes who were getting big signing bonuses for that day. Nothing not close to what they'd be now. And he said he wanted that market because otherwise they wouldn't have any money in 2 years. And I think part of it is that people don't get good advice, or they don't listen to the people who are giving it. So think about people who you may have known before they became celebrities. So you had a different level of credibility with them than the people who start following them around once they become celebrities, because the celebrity can't really know whether they're interested in the person or they're just interested in the influence the person has. So I think people do it because they're arrogant. We're all arrogant about something. They think it'll never happen to them. Or they actually, Steve, they think they have it covered. I don't know about celebrities, but I've met a lot of people who have a last will and testament, and believe that takes care of everything, because they have said in their will, my sister gets my home. My sister Debbie gets my home. Not even my sister, because God forbid she has more than one sister, but my sister Debbie gets my home. Well, that's great. But that has to go through the courts to get Debbie the home, because they haven't done anything particular for that. So who knows why they don't do it? There are things people have been telling, I'm sure, each of us to do for years, and we go poo, poo, poo. And then all of a sudden it becomes urgent, and we go, oh, gee, maybe I ought to pay attention to that. So people plan sometimes after they've lost somebody, and they get it, after they've been through probate with somebody they love.
I'm curious. I've always been curious. when do people decide that they need to sit down and have a plan? Is it when somebody in their family passes away and they wonder, I mean, when is there a certain time that people that come to you that says, I've decided to do this now? Why did they choose now to do this?
Well, often it's because somebody just died. Somebody they knew just died, and they saw what that family went through to get the estate settled. Somebody in their own family died, and they saw what they had to go through to get the estate settled, and they got real clear that they weren't going to do that to their children. Somebody got really sick and didn't have anybody to advocate for them, and so, no, that's not just so true. Somebody got sick, and the children of the person who was sick didn't agree on what should be done for the person who was sick, and so the person who was sick languished without getting treatment necessarily or relief from their suffering, like being allowed to pass, because the kids couldn't agree and the doctors aren't in a position to overstep them. So if you and I are siblings and I'm of the mind that, no, mom wants to die, we're going to let her die, and you're of the mind that God hasn't called her home yet, we're going to be in an argument about it. And if one of us doesn't have the right to make the decision, then mom's there in whatever state she's in without a resolution. Even if she's, in a coma and we think she's not suffering, that's not the point. So Terri Schiavo, great instance for people who don't know her. Young woman in her 30s, had a brain aneurysm, whatever, had never written anything down. Her husband was adamant that she didn't want to live like that. He had nothing in writing, and her parents fought him for years, to the point of at least the Florida Supreme Court. And meanwhile, she was on a feeding tube, she was off a feeding tube, she was on a feeding tube, she was off a feeding tube. And nobody had the right to make the choice for her, regardless of whether it was the right choice. If she'd given him the document, there's no saying her parents wouldn't have sued him. And it's unlikely it would have gone anywhere because he had the document. Or vice versa, if they'd had the document. Could have taken them to court, but they had the document. So I think that happens. Sarita Puri wrote a great book called about end-of-life decisions. And she became a palliative care physician because of all she saw in her emergency room where older people came in, the kids couldn't agree. And they couldn't even really treat the parent because the kids couldn't agree on what to be done. So there are different triggering things. When people have children, they'll do the planning because they're clear they have to say who's going to raise their children, because I'll trust you, but I'm not going to trust my brother. So I better name you my guardian of my children and my cat. But anyway, guardian of my children before it would get to court and my brother shows up and says, well, I'm her brother. No, she didn't name you. All sorts of different motivations. You did yours because your brother finally put his foot down and said you're going to do it. And you listen to him. And I'm sure there are people in that situation all the time. Somebody in their family says, you're not messing around with this. You're not putting me in this situation. You're not putting whatever. Just get it done. And you listen. You could have fought him. You could still be walking around without a plan.
Debbie, one of the greatest things you do besides keeping your clients out of probate, but you've got this long list, things that people might never even think about, like artifacts. I mean, who thinks about that? But you do.
I do, because I look around so we evacuated for the hurricane, and I was telling somebody yesterday, so if we had lost the house, what would I be totally bereft without? Well, I would have been bereft without the pictures, and there was no way to take all the pictures with me. I would be bereft without my jewelry because most of it's sentimental. It has nothing to do with whether much of it has value. And I would be bereft if I left my mother's urn here and she got swept away. But that's another stuff. She would think I'm crazy for still having it. We don't think enough about our lives would want something that we have and would want to know the history behind it. Because then it gives them a different picture of us. we don't think that we have things that people would want because they're not valuable. But that's not true. I personally believe that all of us have a number of possessions that a friend would love to have now to remember us with now, and then have a different sense of it when we die. But so much family, and I'm guilty of this, so much of family history is lost because we don't take the time to sit down with the people we love and tell them the stories about why do I keep this? I mean, Steve, it would take days for me to walk you around this office and tell you why I've kept this or this. Now all the cats, because I love cats, but I've got so much stuff in here. It's like, huh? So artifacts are really important, and at this time of year, it's a great way to share. Ask somebody, what's your favorite? What's a possession you would be lost if you couldn't have it with you again, and let them tell you why, and get an insight to the person that you hadn't seen before, or a reminder of who that person is, because they've had it since they were 10. I mean, I have a number of things I've had since I was 10 that a woman who used to be a housekeeper for us made, or ceramic, and made for me. And every time I see it, I just smile because I remember who she was for me. So artifacts are really, really important. Doesn't mean when you pass, your family won't come in and throw everything away, but at least they'll have a history behind some of that instead of going, why in heaven's name did she keep this ceramic rabbit?
People don't think about that, do they?
No. Or they do and they don't know how to convey it. It sounds, I've thought about it. It sounds kind of, my family that gathers at Thanksgiving would just look at me crazy if I said, well, what's something that you have kept for years that you would want us to, now I could have that conversation with my granddaughter and probably my granddaughter-in-law, but my daughter and son-in-law, not so much because I'm too sentimental or I think too much, anyway, but it's a great conversation to have about artifacts.
Yeah. Debbie, we've got about 50 shows we do each month. And I got to tell you, and just lined up this way, your show and the show after the show, I actually say I'm so blessed that we have you and that God puts you here for a reason. I'm so glad that we have you. Tell people how they can reach you.
Yeah, I'm in Tampa, but you can reach me at 813-586-1332, 813-586-1332. I am licensed in the state of Florida. My consultations are at no charge because it's part of my being of service, and I'm happy to direct you to somebody who can help you, or if it's not me, or just for more information. My website is London Baker Law, London like the city, londonbakerlaw.com. And my email address is debbaker@londonbakerlaw.com. If you have a question, I return my phone calls within 24 hours, 1 business day, I think my voicemail says. I'd love to have a conversation.
And I'm going to add, she is a sweetheart. Debbie, have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving, you and your family, and we'll see you next month.
Before Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, no, right after Christmas, if it's the last
Right
one.
after.
Right after Christmas. Okay.
We'll see
Thanks,
you again.
Steve.
Thank you, Debbie.
See you, Rebel. Bye.
That's attorney Debbie Baker. She's an estate planning attorney. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we've got another great expert. We'll be right back.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. We have a great expert that it's so great that he's one of the few that we want to bring on twice a month. His topic is so important, and I'm so glad, I'm so blessed that we have him. Let me bring on Ray Ferrara, Provise Money Management. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Steve. Whoops, you know what? There I am unmuted. I thought I was still on mute, but good morning.
Good morning.
Thankful to be with you on this kind of cool Monday morning here in Tampa.
Did you watch any football yesterday?
Of course, I watched those Buccaneers, and I love to watch Miami kick a little butt as well.
Well, it's tough for me because I'm both a Cowboy and Dolphin fan, and they were both on at the same time yesterday, and I chose my Cowboys, and it was the most exciting game I've ever seen. It was insane.
Not exciting. It was not exciting at all. It was totally bizarre, especially the last 5 minutes of the game. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life.
Crazy. And just amazing. And how do you like this cold weather we're getting?
It's great. It's great to have a little cool down here in Florida.
Ray, you know, your show topic is so important, and it's amazing. And we don't try to make this show political at all, but the questions that we get in when people know you're coming on is and now they're starting to change, and people are kind of excited and looking forward to it. But first of all, tell people about Provise Money Management.
Thanks, Steve. So Provise Management Group is a financial planning firm, first and foremost. Although we look at financial planning as the keystone, if you will, to all financial life. When you think of investment management, insurances, you think of education planning, estate planning, etc. Those are all subsets of a financial plan. And so we believe that people who have a financial plan can be successful without one, but the odds of your success increase with a financial plan. We've got offices in Clearwater and Tampa, Florida, but we serve clients throughout the state of Florida. And in fact, we're in over 30 states with our clients, about 1,200 strong, and we're managing just right at about $2 billion as of the end of September. And so, as always, we offer a 1-hour free consultation in either our Clearwater or Tampa office, or if you prefer, by Zoom, where we'll be happy to introduce ourselves to you and learn more about your situation. And if we're not the ones that we're able to help, then we'll get you directed in the right direction. And all you have to do is send an email to info@provise.com if you want to do that, or call us at 727-709-6392. That's 727-709-663. Oh, that's my cell phone, but you can call me on that too if you want. The office number is 727-441-9022. 441-9022. Or if you want to just explore, go to provise.com and you can learn lots more about us. Let's get to
Ray,
the question.
I got to tell you, there is a trend with your show that I don't have with any of my other shows. Podcast has become so important. And ours, we add radio and a TV element to it. But we are getting so many, I guess, competitors calling us up. And normally, when a competitor calls us up, it's usually to bash our expert. But I got to tell you, Ray, you get more compliments from your local and national competitors about your show. They're calling us up wanting to do a show themselves, and we really stick with Ray. But I mean, you get so many. I'm not talking about just from listeners. I'm talking about people in your field.
Well, it's, flattery or imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and delighted to hear that people that are in the business are so complimentary, and excited for you and others that they want to do something like that. And the most important thing I think in doing these shows, Steve, is we do not tout any products. We don't tout any companies. We don't take any money from anybody to do the show with you, to sponsor them or their products. We want to keep it totally all about the planning aspects and doing it the right way. And unfortunately, too many people want to get out there and sell a bunch of,
Yes.
crap. Okay, I'll say it. and it's buyer beware in those kinds of situations.
But, Brad, they really appreciate the information that you share with everybody and the accuracy. That's really amazing.
Well, it's nice to be right, but as Yogi Berra said, it would be easy to predict the future if it wasn't about the future, or something to that effect. And what we take is simply a common sense approach with people. We are not into exotic products. We don't do that from an investment standpoint. You won't see us with any Bitcoin that we bought for clients. Some clients have wanted to buy it, and that's okay. You're not going to see very much private equity and all that fancy stuff that people get wrapped up into. We're just vanilla ice cream, and if you don't like vanilla ice cream, you won't like us.
What a great way to put it. Ray, what do you think is going to be the most important financial matter that really needs to be tackled now? We know who the president's going to be now. What do you see?
So there are a lot of things that need to be worked on. Certainly, you have what Elon Musk is going to be working on, what they're now calling DOGE, D-O-G-E, the Department of Government Efficiency. And he has vowed to cut $2 trillion out of the budget over and announce it all on July 4th of 2026. We don't think he's going to find $2 trillion, but he can make a dent at it. There's the issues around Social Security that needs to be addressed because current predictions are that Social Security Trust Fund will run out of money in 2033. That's only 3 years after President Trump goes out of office, so he's probably going to have to handle that. But the single biggest issue, without a doubt, that needs to be tackled is our annual debt deficit adding to the national debt. We're up to $35 trillion of debt at this point. That is simply not sustainable to continue to run the government at 1.5 to $2 trillion of borrowing every year, adding to the national debt. And this is during some good times. So we think that responsible government will have to address these issues. And let me say that the way that it's going to be addressed is going to be certainly by cuts that are going to occur, not $2 trillion worth, but cuts that will have to occur, additional revenue that'll have to be raised, and finally, we have to grow our way out of this, and that is going to be one of the most important things. If we can get the economy growing at a 3% or greater rate, that will go a long way towards creating the additional revenue that we will need, that will allow us to cut some of the debt that we are garnering on a year-to-year basis, because we're just spending more than we've got. And it's like any one of us. At some point, your credit cards are maxed out, and then you have to either figure out a way to get yourself out of debt, or you declare bankruptcy. And the reality of it is, the government simply can't declare bankruptcy. That would be devastating for the world economy, for the U.S. to default on its debt. And so that's the single biggest problem that needs to be addressed.
Ray, I got to tell you, one of the things I love about the way you do the show and how you run your company is you really call balls and strikes. You call them for both sides. And you've always been that way. We don't want to get political on here, but a lot of the questions that we're getting from people on your show are your thoughts on some of these cabinet members related to money, what your feeling is with them.
Well, it's not just the ones that are related to money. And while certainly some of the president's picks have been controversial, the biggest controversy being Matt Gaetz, who was the former congressman from Florida, who's now pulled his name out of the hat, and Pam Bondi from right here in Tampa, Florida, is hopefully going to be confirmed as the Attorney General. They all come together. I mean, for instance, in the Department of Justice, they make decisions about what companies they might want to be pursuing for what they believe would be criminal activity. Today, I believe it is, there will be closing arguments in the Google case that the government has brought to bear on Google about monopolizing the manner in which it did its advertising, and obviously doing it unfairly. So there's that legal side, and then there's the money side, and clearly the choice for the Secretary of Treasury. He's a hedge fund manager. His organization has not been very big. He is going to have to manage a group of people in the Treasury Department that are probably about 100,000 people, and most of those are with the IRS. Fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. And it's going to be important who he surrounds himself with at this point. I think he's an excellent pick. He has a steady hand, a steady reputation. Maybe the best news for him is Elizabeth Warren called him out this morning and said that Wall Street's happy, but what about Main Street? If Elizabeth is against you, in my opinion, it's probably a good thing, not a bad thing.
Agree.
So I think that the president this time is putting the president-elect now is putting together an excellent team of people. Still some questions around the Department of Defense, and that may change in the future. But we like the team he's putting in place. They're good thinking people. They're good critical thinkers. They've been successful in life. They've been successful in business, and hopefully they'll be successful in government. And let me say, Steve, and I've said this, about every president. is once they're elected, I want them to be the best president they can be, whether I voted for them or not, because
Good for you.
not being the best president that they can be is not good for any of us. So
Right.
I hope that the people who voted for Trump are happy with the direction he's going. I hope that those that did not vote for him, want to root for him to be successful, because it will inure to all of our benefit if he is, and to our detriment if he isn't.
Trump seemed like he punted the first time around with Social Security, Ray, and this time it's even closer. What do you think they should do now?
Well, I mentioned Social Security as one of what I see as the three most important financial issues that the president is going to have to deal with. And it's Social Security and to a lesser extent, perhaps Medicare that needs to be touched on. But let's talk about Social Security first. The concept behind Social Security was that there would be more people working than there are people who are retired and alive, and that the multitudes of the people who are working would be paying in enough money to not only fund the Social Security, but to actually add to the trust fund. Today, given medical science, given better lifestyles, etc., there are many more people who are retired and still alive than was originally anticipated way back when Social Security first came about back in the 30s. And with all of those benefits increasing every year because of inflation, because of there not being enough people working to support those that are retired, it's causing a serious issue. So what do we have to do? Well, everybody knows what needs to be done. It's having the political will to do it. The first is we have to reduce the benefits. Now, I don't mean that we reduce the benefits to those that are retired and drawing on Social Security. That's not what I'm talking about at all. One of the ways that you can reduce the benefits on a go-forward basis is right now you can start drawing Social Security at age 62. You need to move that up probably to age 65. But you don't have to jump from 62 to 65. You can ease into it and say that those that are in their 50s can't touch it until 63. Those that are in their 40s can't touch it until they're 64. Those that are in their 30s can't touch it until 65, or something like that, so that you ease your way into that, so that you can't start that early. You need to take the full retirement age, which for most people today is age 67. And you need to do the same thing. You need to move full retirement age up to probably age 70. And you need to do that again on a gradual basis, just in a way that I described about moving up the minimum age. That cuts benefits. It means people aren't getting it as soon, but you're also giving a runway to people to prepare for that. So that's one of the first things to do. The second way the benefits could be changed is means testing in the future, and by that I mean you could reduce benefits to people who have significant wealth or enough wealth in their own personal portfolios. Now, many will holler and scream and say, "Well, I paid in all of those years; I'm entitled to it." But again, it's a way of potentially cutting benefits. And nobody likes to cut benefits, but that's one of the major sources that we have. On the revenue front, there's a couple of things that need to be done. This next year, 2025, the first $174,000 of wages will be taxed for Social Security. We probably need to move that number up faster than just the rate of inflation, but again, to do it gradually. It went up $7,500 from 2025 to 2020. From 24 to 25. So maybe what we need to do is add inflation plus another 1% on top of that every year to make that wage base grow faster so that more revenue is garnered through more taxes on more income that we all make. So that's one way of doing it. The other is to right now, depending upon your income level, either 50% of your Social Security, up to 50% of your Social Security can become taxable, or 85% can become taxable at one level and 50% at another level. What we need to be willing to do is to tax 100% of the Social Security at maybe a third level. And the reason for doing that is the income taxes that are paid on Social Security go back into the Social Security Trust Fund. So that would help build it up. So it's a combination of cutting expenses plus more revenue. And then the final thing is we need to grow the economy. And if we can grow the economy and get more people working and get better wages, then we've got more money going into the pot. So that it's going to take all three: cut benefits, increase revenue, and try to grow our way out of the problem. And no one of them is going to solve the problem. No two is going to solve the problem. It's going to take all three.
Do you see that being done?
Oh, well, I don't want to be the member of Congress or the president when Social Security recipients start getting 2/3 of their benefits instead of 100% of their benefits. The voters will react. So yes, I think during the last 2 years of his presidency, he will deal with the problem and try to come up with some solutions, many of which are not going to be popular. But if we want to save the program, those are the things we're going to have to do.
Ray, we've got about 3 minutes left, and I want you to take the next 3 minutes and tell people why they should come to you and why they should trust you with their money. And I'm just going to open that up to you.
All right. Well, first of all, trust is something that you earn. You don't just get it by being there. And I often am asked by people, well, what's your performance? That's what they want to know. And I tell them, every portfolio that we manage is managed on an individual basis. They may look a lot alike, but they're all individually managed because everybody is different. The performance I like to talk about is that year over year in an industry where there is a turnover of 12% of losing clients, our year-to-year turnover of clients is 3%. And that includes people who have moved away, that includes people who have passed away, and then the occasional person that's just not happy with whatever it is that we're doing. And so if we were not trusted, if we were not doing the jobs that we promised to do, more people would be leaving us instead of having a 97% retention ratio. So that's one thing to consider. We became a registered investment advisor back in the late 80s, long before it was something that was in vogue. And that means we've been working at a fiduciary standard of care for almost the past 40 years. So it's not something that we just talk about. It's something we've been practicing for a long time. And then there's this thing called competence. We've got 14 wonderful advisors here. All of them are CFP, Certified Financial Planner professionals, who have demonstrated their competence by not only passing a very rigorous exam, but by continuing education. And so we've got a competent group. But it's not, again, I go back to what I said before. It's all about trust. And it's something that you earn. It's not given to you. And so, we always offer trying to build trust right from the beginning. That 1 hour complimentary consultation in our offices of Tampa Workway Water, or by Zoom if people prefer, where we just sit and get to know each other and get to meet each other. And if we're not the right fit, then that's okay. And if we can't help you, we'll pass you on to somebody who can. And all they have to do is call our office at 727-441-9022, 727-441-9022, or they can send an email to info @provise.com. We'll be delighted to sit and visit with them. And of course, we invite, just as I know you get questions sent to you, anybody who has a question they'd like to ask directly of us can do that by simply using, again, our email info@provise.com.
Ray, I hope you and your family have a blessed Thanksgiving. You'll be back again with us next month. Thank you so much for being such a big part of the show.
You bet. Thank you for having me this morning. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and a happy Thanksgiving to our audience.
Thanks, Ray. That's Ray Ferrara, Provise Money Management. That's going to be it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you, Rebel. We'll see you tonight.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.